is Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Today on Adulting 101, I am going to talk to you about how to budget. So everybody budgets a little bit differently. I feel like I'm very good at budgeting, so I'm going to share with you my tips and tricks for creating a budget, and hopefully you'll find something useful in them. Just because you don't follow these tips doesn't mean that you're budgeting wrong, or if you know somebody else who's giving you tips, it doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. Like I said, everybody has a slightly different way to manage their budgets, and there are aspects of it that need to be personalized and customized to your specific circumstances. But I can only tell you what I do and what I think works pretty well. What I do is I keep track of my budget in the Notes app on my phone so that I can look at it each month, and I create a new budget each month. I have very standard payments that I have to meet, as most of you probably do. A lot of very common things like car payments, possibly your school loans. If you're living on your own, things like your electricity bill, your rent, your water bill, what have you. I call those the must pays. Those are things that you need to pay, otherwise you're not going to have a very nice life, right? You're not going to survive very long if you're not having electricity or water in your house. So those are the must pays. What I do is my must pays are constant, so each month I just copy them into a new note with that month's name at the top. And then I put check boxes next to each one so that I can mark off when they're paid. So the first tip is to write down all of your must pays. This includes all of your bills like your car payments, your water, electricity, insurance, cell phone bill, what have you. Anything that you have to pay every month, that goes under your must pays. My second tip in terms of creating a budget, and just for smart money sense in general, is to make there be a certain amount of money you put into your savings account each paycheck, and consider that a must pay as well. Many money experts recommend that you put a certain amount of each paycheck into your savings account. This can range from anywhere to 10 to 20% of your check into your savings account. That's going to be based on what you're able to put in to make sure that you're paying all of your other bills. But it's really good idea to build up a savings account. If you don't have a savings account already, now is a great time to go out and start one. And just start by putting a little bit in each month. Another tip for a savings account is that if you have a debit card, some debit cards allow you to set up so that a certain amount goes into your savings account each time you make a payment. So for example, every time that I use my debit card, $1 goes into my savings account. This isn't very much. It doesn't, add up to millions over the course of a year, but it ensures that I am putting something into my savings account each time that I spend money. So once you've written out your must-haves, what I do is I divide them into the time of month when I'm going to need to pay them. So in most months, you get 2 paychecks, one towards the beginning, one towards the end. Every now and again, we get a 3 paycheck month, which is really exciting. But what I do is I've structured my list so that the bills that are coming towards the beginning of the month are at the top of my must pays, and the bills that are coming towards the end of the month are at the bottom of my must pays. And then I divide them up between each paycheck. So let's say, for example, that at the top, I know that my water bill comes in at the beginning of the month. So I'm going to use my first paycheck to pay off the water bill. I also put a certain amount of money into my retirement account each month, and so I've divided that total into 2 so that I'm taking a chunk out of each paycheck. This helps me mentally to feel like I'm not spending so much and draining one single paycheck, but to help spread the cost of the bills out across the month so that you don't find yourself broke at the start of each month or at the end of each month. This method of dividing when the bills come in and paying them off as they come in should keep you at an even amount of money throughout the entire month. Once you have your must-haves written down and put in the order of when you have to pay them, what I do is I take how much I normally make in a single paycheck and I start subtracting out the bills. So for instance, let's say, and this of course isn't true, let's say that I make $10 on my first paycheck every month. So for the first 2 weeks of the month, I've made $10. I know that the must-haves that I have to pay off using that paycheck total $5. So I would take my $10, subtract the 5. That means I have $5 left to kind of play around with. Now, this is a good time if you haven't put any money into your savings account yet. Take some of that extra $5 and put some of that into your savings account. If you've already put money into your savings account and paid all your must-haves and you don't have anything else to pay for the month, then that is your fun money. That's the amount of money that you know you have to use to go out to eat, to get that extra coffee, or if you want to be really smart, you could put a little bit extra into your savings account with that extra money. So again, to figure that out, you take the amount of money that you make in one paycheck and you subtract out your must-pays. When you've reached the end of your must-pays, whatever you have left over is your wiggle room fun money. Another very important tip for budgeting is that if you have a credit card, make sure that you are paying off that credit card as much as you can each month. Credit cards can really get away from you if you let the payments build up. So I recommend trying to keep that credit card balance as close to zero as you possibly can. Of course, like I said at the beginning, that is a personal situation. There might be circumstances that mean that you're not able to pay it off all in 1 month. For instance, last year my dogs got really sick and my credit card bill was always a little bit high. But I tried to make sure that each month I was paying it down as much as I possibly could. So that meant taking a bigger chunk out of my fun money, my wiggle room money, to make sure that that credit card was getting lower and lower. The worst thing about credit cards is the interest payments. So what's going to happen is as the amount that you owe on your credit card builds up, you're going to have to start paying interest on that amount. And that's really just like you're throwing away money if you're able to pay that off. Now, like I said, some circumstances mean that you're not able to pay it off, in which case you just have to accept that you're going to have to pay that interest. But if you're not paying it off because you're using extra money on fun things, you might want to rein that in because in the end, you're going to be paying a higher interest total. So those are my tips for budgeting. It really helps me to write it all out, like I said, and to put check marks next to each thing. It means that once I've paid it off, I can check that off my list, and I know that that's not something that I have to worry about. Also, if you have stable payments that you have to make each month, then it's going to be really easy for you to total that up and figure out about how much your must-pays are each month, which will help you figure out how much money you have to do other things like build your savings, your retirement fund, or go out for that extra Starbucks. If you have any tips about budgeting that you would like to share, please let us know in the comments below. I hope that you'll find this video helpful, and happy budgeting, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.